Welcome everybody back to Nain Shorts, or welcome to. Not sure if this is your first time or you're returning, but either way, thank you very much for watching. If this is your first time, definitely like and subscribe. And if it isn't your first time, if you haven't liked and subscribed by now, what the hell? Share the video. Donation button at the bottom in the description. So for those of you who would like to help, thank you very much. The content is out of pocket for us. And we do enjoy doing it. So much so that we have to shout out our good friends at Physique Magnifique, owned by Futaba and Jimmy Wilson, here in South San Francisco, 387 Grand Avenue. If you're ever in the area, please stop by. If you're here for just a short period of time, come check us out. Come play, hit one of the bags, lift some weights upstairs, do some cardio, whatever strikes your fancy, we probably have it here for you. So now that we've gone through the niceties of the day, lately we've been talking a lot about the idea of perception. What do we see in these processes that we go through for training? Whether it's Filipino martial arts, whether it's boxing, whether it's kung fu and going through your forms, or katas, or your piñons, even your weapon forms. What do they represent? And there's a lot to be said about them. But essentially, they all are a simulated fight. All the moves are hitting a target, and you're going on, and it's a sequence of events. Some are predetermined, some are free flow, but essentially that's what it is a simulated fight. So when you're doing something like shadow boxing, who's winning? More importantly, is it possible for you to lose? And I know it seems like a silly question to ask because, well, it's just shadow boxing. It's a training tool. But as we do, we're going to ask more questions, and we're going to dive a little deeper into the idea behind it. Now, if these are simulated fights, then that means there is a simulated opponent. What is that opponent actually doing that allows you to get all those strikes? Is that one hit enough to knock that guy down, and then the other guy is coming, the other person's attacking you, so then you switch positions and you attack them? Once you do that, you switch again and you attack that person. Is that what's going on? Have we explored deeply enough what the reactions are of these imaginary foes, to the point where we can say that, okay, this is an actual fight, or this is an artistic representation of the art that we happen to practice? And these are some of the things that we started analyzing in reference to the actual fight, because obviously, if we were to just start hitting each other and see what comes of it, somebody's going to end up getting hurt. So as a training module, it's probably not the best for student retention or even for personal health. Because, ultimately you can have a lot of injuries. Way back in the day, out of 100 students, 2 or 3 survived because they did a whole bunch of sparring, live sparring, and it didn't end so well. A lot of them ended up crippled. So we can't really go down that route, but we want to bridge the gap between these movements, these preset actions that we take that are part of our art, that do teach us a lot of other things, from footwork to fluidity, to being able to group things together, or even just to get your heart racing and get a good workout. If you're boxing, you're doing your shadow boxing for X amount of time, you can break a good sweat. But ultimately, how do we bridge that gap? How do we go from the exercise, from the forms, to something more concrete without having to go to the point where we are fighting one another just to see if our stuff works? So we were thinking about shadow boxing, piños, for the Filipino martial artists, our sayaws, our carenzas, all these movements, beautiful as they may be. And I'm probably overestimating myself right now, because I'm going to look back at this and say, yeah, that wasn't that beautiful. But the point is that I'm moving, I'm simulating my fight. Or am I? Was I actually hitting anything right there? Is my opponent this tall that I have to do my abanico up here? my boutiques. After I hit that person the first time, if I even connected with that person, would they still be standing there for me to get all these other hits? Probably not. And if they're still standing there, it might mean that I suck so bad that none of these hits did anything to them to actually get them to back off or move away or drop. So then it begs the question, so what does each one of these moves actually mean? Do we take the time to really think about what we're doing in these motions? If I strike here, what is that? You can call it whatever angle you want, you can use whatever reference you know, but ultimately I'm trying to hit something around this area with the tip of my stick. What is that something? If that's somebody's head, then I have to acknowledge that this person is a bit taller than me. Okay, now I'm acknowledging that person is a good, let's say 5'8", 5'10". I know it's a little nitpicky to say that, but the point is, I have to be aware of what I'm doing, and more importantly, who I'm doing it to. I'm just at this surface level analyzing the size of the person I would hit. Because if I'm not cognizant of that, well then I'm swinging for no reason. Why am I swinging this high up if I'm not fighting somebody who's taller, if I'm not simulating an aggressor that's that tall? Otherwise, if I'm going to hit somebody's head, why not somebody my size? Oh, okay. Now that means that every time my stick, the point where I want to make contact is at eye level, I'm hitting them in the face or around the head. Now, do I have to be more specific than that? I'm sure we can get into it, but for now, I'm just hitting somebody in the head all the time that's around my height. So now I have a sense of target. Now I know, oh, I just hit that guy's head. Oh, I just grabbed his hair because he was going back, so I pulled him back. Now I took out his chin. Oh, is he knocked out? Maybe I want to hit him a few more times because you never know. Because maybe that's part of the art, is to hit him 3 or 4 times after you make the first initial hit to make sure once that person's down, now I move on to the next person and now I'm set. And that person attacks. But wait a minute. Wait, hold on. I just hit this guy and I knocked him out. But what was he doing? Was he literally just standing there and letting me hit them? Or were they attacking too? Well, I mean, if it's a fight, then you would hope that they're also doing something, right? Or at least if you're thinking about it as a real fight, then yeah, they're definitely doing something. They're trying to hurt you. And for those of you who may not know, in a carenza or sayao, it is a simulated battle against 100 opponents. I don't know about you, but I don't want to find out whether or not I'm good enough to actually fight 100 real people with weapons. And the carenza is a great way to express all the things that you know and the artistic side of it, but if we really dive into what we're doing, well then we have to understand what we're hitting. I just went through the gambit of targets on the human body, but I didn't take into account whether or not they were attacking. Because if I'm starting from this point here after I finish that guy off, what is the person coming at me doing? Are they attacking me with an overhand strike? Are they coming diagonal? Are they coming across? Are they coming underneath? Are they just trying to spear me with something? Can you, in that moment of free flow, truly take the time, slow down enough to say, okay, this person's coming at me with an angle on this side. Oh crap, they're coming in way too fast. I have to brace myself because now I'm taking the full impact of a heavy loaded strike of somebody running and coming down with all their strength, which means that's going to happen. If I'm not prepared to take that, I'm going to buckle. But wait, if I'm going to buckle because of the strength of the person coming in, well, that means I have to be prepared for it somehow. So what if when I take that impact, I also move? Oh, now their weight is coming down. Now I grab their hand. Now I'm hitting them with the puño. Now I'm coming out and I'm hitting with the tip of my stick as I bring it down to drop them again next to that guy because they look so peaceful next to each other. I know, it's it's silly to put it that way. But now I'm diving deeper into really understanding what these things mean. Now all of a sudden this is a strike to the head. Oh, this is a block. Why is it a block? Because I have to acknowledge that in a real fight, I'm not going to get everything that I want. I may not even win in a real fight with an aggressor, somebody truly trying to hurt you. But if I constantly move as if every one of my hits is hitting, every single one of my attacks is reaching their mark, every single thing, even though I'm cognizant, I'm hitting the shoulder, I'm hitting a knee, I'm hitting an elbow, I'm hitting the other shoulder, I'm hitting an eye, I'm hitting an ear, oh, I'm poking them in the face while I drop it again, and then I do a redondo to their head as they're dropping down because I hit them hard enough. Even though I'm acknowledging all the realistic ideas and targets of these movements, I'm also acknowledging that I'm hitting 100% of the time. That 100% of the things that I'm doing are reaching their mark exactly how I intend them to do, and that's just not reality. Can we shadow box? Can we do our psy-outs with the idea that we're going to miss? That our opponent may be better than us? Can we fight different opponents based on the things that we understand, the attributes of the people that we have trained with, that we have practiced with over the years, people who are taller, smaller, faster, stronger? Can we incorporate those ideas in the person that doesn't exist in front of you and realistically respond in ways that are more natural, that actually acknowledge the fact that we're not invincible? Because what kind of mentality does that teach the students, even though it's not something we talk about? Do we really feel that we're that good that when we're shadow boxing, when we're doing our movements without anyone in front of us, that we are hitting that person every single time, and more importantly, that we're winning every single time? We're simulating a battle of 100 opponents and we beat 100 opponents. What does that do to the mind? And more importantly, is that realistic? And my answer is no. It's not realistic. It's a great way for the art to grow and be explored, definitely. And it doesn't take away from all the things that you can learn while doing these things. But can we push the training further? Can we push it further along to really get a realistic sense, if only up here? Because ultimately, that's what we teach. If you can understand it here, then it can become real here in your hands. So if we get it in concept, then we'll be able to act it out. And like anything, it's going to take repetition. That you can't. If you don't do it, you're not going to be able to practice it. If you don't practice it, you're not going to be able to do it. So that's always going to be there. You're always going to need the movements. But how far are we willing to take those movements? How far are we willing to go to refine them so then they come out naturally and effective in the things that we do? So now we talked about, okay, each movement represents a hit to something specific. Wait, I just hit this guy's head, and then I moved on to somebody else. Well, have I done enough to even kill that guy yet before they attacked me? Oh crap, all right, well now what do I do? We'll hit the guy in the head. Oh, he's coming. Oh, I have to block while I keep attacking this guy. Oh, now I move him in front of me. So now he's my shield as I'm bashing the crap out of him, move him out of the way, and I attack this guy from a blind spot. I actually kind of got excited right now. My heart started pumping. Because I simulated not just the idea of what I'm trying to accomplish with my hits, but what they're doing as well. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where adrenaline is pumping high, where you're literally scared, where something comes at you out of nowhere and it just gets you. I know I have. Nothing serious, but I've been in near, collisions in vehicles, and my heart does race, and your adrenaline does pump through. And because my brain is focused on not just what I'm doing, but what's happening around me, even though it's all happening in my head, my body will react to it. You get a realistic sense of, holy crap, that person is really trying to hurt me. I need to do something. I need to move out of the way. And then you take the time to analyze, could I have done better? In that instance, could I have done something more? Could I have been more effective? Could I have been more precise in the way that I moved? And you build, now you build a training regimen. Now from this I can, as our instructor Danny says, now you build the skill set based on the necessity of the situation that was created in your mind, and based on realistic things that have happened to you and that a lot of our movements represent. But if we don't bridge the gap from just sequencing the events to actually analyzing what's going on, we're never going to get to that part. So, I ask again, when you do these movements, what is your opponent doing? How realistically are they attacking you? If you're fighting yourself, are you so bad at what you do that you hit yourself every single time? Or are you so good that neither of you ever get any hits in? In which case you're just going back and forth. Man, it's a great exercise, but what does it amount to? What else can you add, or what are you missing to tip the scales? So now you are getting the best of it, even though sometimes, even in your head, you're getting hit. Sometimes you are making mistakes because we're people. It's going to happen. In that way, we can prepare for them because we've acknowledged that we're not that great and we have room to grow, which means there's a lot to learn. Okay? So, thank you very much. Now my head's kind of flooding with ideas and training modules that could help me figure more of this stuff out, because I really am getting into the habit of, as clearly as I can, imagining my opponent being a lot better than I am, which means I have to be on my toes, constantly developing, growing, and making up for my mistakes and my lackings. And I hope this has inspired you in some way to just ask the question, in your movements, what is your opponent doing? Especially when there's nobody there to actually hit. Thank you for joining me again on Nain Shorts. Please like and subscribe. Notification bell, donations. I hear if you say it at least 3 times, it'll stick in your head better. So this is now 4 times donations. Till the next time. 3, 2, 1, cut!